I just started the recording.
Okay, awesome.
Great.
Welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. We are all amazed at all the things that y'all are doing out there and just the eagerness to learn as our environment is changing. Today you'll get to see a little bit of the concepts of what blended learning is, and it's a lot of what you're doing already. There are 12 models. We won't visit all of them, but we'll talk about two, okay? And basically, I try to concentrate on the flipped classroom because the flipped classroom is the typical thing that would happen if we were on a complete school year like the way it was before. That's the typical way it would have been as a class routine for blended learning. However, the dynamics of the situation takes you into something called remote learning, which is also another style of blended learning. So I'll talk a little bit about the different styles available and how they all kind of work. And if there's any of you that are going to be taking the Google Level 1 test, the aspect of blended learning is the surrounding theme of it. They do talk about the digital classroom. They'll talk about project-based learning. And so when you see that lingo, it's all having to do with the 21st century classroom that has digital students and digital learning involved. So I'm also, for another reason, glad that we're here today in this, reflecting it being so close to us. We're truly in that environment right now. Whereas before, maybe it's something that, we wish we could do. Sometimes we didn't have the time to do, or maybe we didn't feel comfortable doing it. So today we hope by this time, we hope your comfort levels have arisen, and don't ever get discouraged. Learning can occur day by day, week by week. If you're just doing one or two things 1 week, and then you do it for a few weeks and you take on another two things, those are just awesome ways to build up your learning. And a house isn't built in one day. So just keep on coming, keep on doing what you're doing and engaging with our material, and in hopes that we can, and of course we have support as well. If you all want to contact us to help you out as well, we're available. So here we are today with blended learning, inspiring, engaging, and transforming your students. Okay, so the check-in code should be already in the chat. And I will start with the definition of blended learning. The definition behind it, it's an educational approach which combines online learning with traditional face-to-face teacher instruction. The teacher is able to differentiate instruction to meet the student's needs. Additionally, the students have control of the pace, time, and path during these learning experiences. So let's go back a little bit. The teacher, again, she's able to do she's in the class, she's doing some face-to-face, whether it's in the virtual environment that you're doing. And then she also allows them to interact with online learning. And it's at the student's pace where they can go back and revisit videos she may have made, or revisit that assignment at any time he or she wants. So they're in control of the pace and the time and the path of the learning experience. Keep that in mind. And it takes you away from the brick and mortar, the learning. The brick and mortar is the school environment, right? The school being the brick and mortar. So blended learning takes you away from it because some of the learning occurs on the outside. So again, today we are going to look at flipped classroom a little bit closer, because let's say when the school year starts, you're gonna do some of the modality that's in the flipped classroom. And then you're gonna go back and forth and maybe do the remote portion of it. They're all kind of the same blended, aspect where there is that teacher face-to-face and the student is interacting with the learning online, okay? And then just keep in mind those aspects that the differentiation is there for you, because you're giving the students different assignments that could meet their needs. when you're assigning it in Google Classroom, you're changing it up and you're constantly seeing the feedback that you're getting from the analysis of your assessments, let's say, and you're able to say, okay, I need to change up the instruction for these kids, or I need to add this additional video to reteach and just send it to these kids. So that's one of the things we're gonna look at as well today. But let me start with the definition of flipped classroom and see if you can make some connections with it and how you can thoughtfully think of setting up your class in this environment, based, of course, on your experiences that you are having right now or that you have had. So the flipped classroom is a strategy where the students receive instruction away from home and it prepares them for the next day environment. So let's say at school, when we go back next school year, they may receive some instruction at home, and then sometimes they'll be coming to school, and so when they come to school, they're ready for that environment. They've done their learning, per se, at home. So it's called reversing the classroom. The homework is done really at school, just so that you all know that. And the school time is used for collaborations, for discovery, and completing assignment. There is a time when the teacher brings them in to do face-to-face, but it's going to be in a rotation station. And we'll take a look at that and how it works in the rotation station, where the teacher does bring in the students to do the face-to-face with them, but the rest of the stations are, you're needing to see that collaboration, you're needing to see that discovery of learning in the station. And again, the homework is not done at home, it's completed at school, okay? So that's where you have that occurring. So here are 12 different types of blended learning, and some of you may have seen these things. I'll explain some that may stand out to you. We haven't seen the outside inside or inside outside. We've seen supplemental. We've seen lab rotation. On a lab rotation, whether it's in the elementary level, it would be CI, kind of like that reading intervention where the students go get that learning material from the computer, but then there is someone, the lab manager, that's hand in hand instructing them to move on to the next lesson that will occur in the blended learning environment or in the program. So she's analyzing the data, and that's what we have to do no matter what as we're in blended learning. But just the model that is being used for it, it's a lab rotation model. In high school, it's the Odyssey software. The students come in, they do Odyssey software to bring up their knowledge, and then the teacher is in the background running reports, seeing what she needs to do to modify the program so that it meets their needs. So you've got self-directed, where the student is in their own pace. Sometimes they have to take their own courses to pass. Project-based learning is also, and project-based comes out inside of Google Classroom. I'm sorry, inside of the Google Level 1, just FYI. Some of this terminology, you need to start getting familiar with it, for those of you who may be in that. And I did leave an article. If you click on this, it will take you to an article based on all of these, and just so you can kind of know the vocabulary behind it. Currently, you are in a remote, or you were in a remote learning environment. It was a virtually rich environment. So that was the model being used. And today we're going to look at the flipped classroom, where it's, here's where you're going to see how it could have been typically used this past year, or some of you may have been using an aspect of it. But just how you can just use it a little bit more seamlessly with the techniques that I'll show you that are available in the station rotation. The mastery base is the one that the student moves up inside of the coursework. That's how he moves through the grade levels. Sometimes you'll see that in private schools. Arabella, can you see my my presentation at all on that end, or are you just seeing a black picture of my? I'm seeing that I can't, oh, I forgot to take off my camera. I'm seeing that when I was presenting, I couldn't see my presentation. Give me a moment. I'm trying to bring it back up and see if we can see the presentation. Oh, okay. That's fine. Thank you for letting me know, Ms. Benavides, and I couldn't see who else. So I'll try to look to the side to see the chat, and I just took off my camera so I could not have any kind of delay. Well, I'm still going to get a little bit of delay. But okay, so I'm going to try to do this. And also just modeling for you guys when you do the classroom, it's really good to maybe have a different device so that you can see your students, because on the other device, I can go ahead and see what they're chatting, and I can see their faces, if their cameras are on or not, or if they're chatting to each other, because my iPad is joined in, but I muted my iPad as well. Some people use the dual list to do that. To me, the dual list kind of distracts me a little bit because it's all in one screen. I like to use this as a place where I can read y'all's comment. So it says, click on the graphic in slide 4 for the article. Yes, if you want to see more about it, like I said, for those of you that want to study what blended learning is, and maybe you're going to be taking the test for the Google level 1, some of these defining like the project base and the reasoning behind the whole theory of it is going to come up. Okay, so just know that slide 4, thank you so much, has the article. You just click on the image. And again, I can't see my presentation anymore for some reason, but I could see it on one screen, so we'll be okay. Thank you all so much. If in case you have a question, I'll look over once in a while to see, and I can answer you. But we'll begin here. And we're going to start with our objective for today. We're discussing how the blended learning impacts the 21st century classroom. We're going to listen to reasons blended learning is needed with this rapid advancement in technology. And now not only rapid advancements in technology, but the impact of COVID with distance learning. So this training, I've been training it throughout the year, this past year, and some campuses have been very appreciative that they already saw models of it or saw an aspect of how it could all come together. Not everybody out there was able to see it, but those of you who did see it, you know, and we've been trying to tell you all, but it's not only us trying to say, they actually, Region 1 was hired by assessments to bring in all 5th grade teachers and teachers who were teaching the resource groups, because blended learning had to be an aspect behind it. And I'll tell you the reason why that is. Your STAR test in 2023, I believe, is going to be all digital. We do know TELPAS is digital, so we're kind of already preparing for it because of it. But now we need to allow the student to be a little bit more digital literate, and more where they're interacting with research, with all Google products, where just like you're becoming digital literate as we go, and we all are. But we need to make sure to, you know, bring in those students that way with that knowledge. So the test being in that platform is not only the only specific reason for doing it, but know that the state has passed the Blended Learning Act. And I'll talk about that in a little bit also. So in closing, some of the tasks that you'll be doing is you're going to let me know what learning strategies you've done, or maybe you learned something in here and this is what you would like to do. And so the other task is start creating your plan to implement blended learning. Most of you were just submerged into it now. And, you know, I remember talking to a principal, and it's like, you know, the train's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going. And it just seemed that even though her and I had been talking a lot about the strategies, she's like, wow, it came faster than we thought. And I'm like, okay, maybe so, but you know, it's a good thing, because it's not a bad thing, all of this happening because it's preparing all of us in many, many different ways. Here's the hyperlink or the URL, I'm sorry, to the presentation if you want to open it in another tab. I think Arabella had already pasted it earlier, but if in case you can refer to it to send it out to anybody, you can also.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and paste it again, Terry. I'm back.
Awesome. Yes, and I know some people don't see it because sometimes when they join a little later, they won't see the chat. So thank you, Arabella. So we're going to be talking about teaching in a revolutionized industry. Back then, we lived in the revolutionizing industry. You know, we were preparing students differently than we are preparing our students now. We are in the 21st century, but back then, it just looks so different. And so you will see how just 1 minute, I'm going to do something so I can see my presentation because I'm not sure why I'm not seeing myself how I should on my iPad. Okay, there. Now let me pin myself. Okay, so back then we all are familiar with these. Maybe we interacted with these when we were in middle school or maybe even in college. I interacted with the floppy disk still as a teacher. Then we see how it revolutionized and it started to become more in a different, it fit more, the USB, the saving and data of your data was differently. And now it's on a cloud with even bigger space. So we're seeing how it continues to revolve. And it's really called the disruptive innovation. The concept behind all of this is that because these innovations are occurring, it disrupts the learning. And so we have to keep up with the times because of it. So many of us remember the payphone. We grew up with it. We went to the mall, put in a quarter and said, oh, you know, we called out to our parents. Some of us were like, Colette called to, Mom, pick me up at the mall. So those were the times our kids, if they saw a payphone today, they'd be like, what? So you see this disruptive innovation occurring and how it has gone stage from stage. So you had the cell phone, then you had the beeper, and then you had, you had a payphone, a beeper, then a cell phone that looked like a brick, and now you have a cell phone that's a computer that can do anything and everything. So you can imagine what the next step will be like, or, you know, and so all these have caused something that's called disruptive innovation. And it's a theory behind in learning. So we're going to
You are reacting to this.
Sorry, hold on. So we're going to see how kids would react if they lived in our time. And take a close look at this little girl right here. I like her. I won't play the whole thing. I'll only play about 1.5 minutes. But just know that, you know, they're not living in our times, but it is funny if they were to live in our time. So we can't teach like we were living in our time. So let's take a look at that.
What is this? What is that? A computer?
Oh, it's an old computer.
It looks cool. I like pressing buttons.
It's huge. It's very huge.
If you don't have a desk, where do you put this? It is very hipster.
Question time!
So it is an old computer.
Yes.
From the late 1970s or early 80s. What do you think of it just from looking at it?
Kind of like those old televisions that are like very boxy.
Go ahead, turn it on.
Nothing's happening.
So you turn the monitor on. Where else might an on switch be?
Oh, wait. Hello? How do I do this?
It's in the back.
Oh, I see where it is.
Why does it have to make so much noise?
And just nothing on the screen.
Doesn't look anything like what we have now.
Apps, games, websites, everything. But this thing right here has nothing.
Go ahead and try to do something on the computer.
Nothing's happening.
How do I do this?
You can't do anything or even type until you hit a reset button that's on the computer. That's
Reset!
It's very tedious.
It's like pre-flight checks, kind of.
That is too many steps.
How do you
So we'll stop it right there. I did do the start and stop on my video to put it at a certain time. And just a reflection of how our students, or what our students are facing. And, you know, we can't teach them the old ways like we were being taught. Obviously, we have to think of the revolutionized industry that is occurring for them, like, you know, the innovation industry. I'm sorry, not the revolutionized, but the innovation part. So these are all called disruptive innovations that occurred in the previous slides. And I want you to think for about 3 minutes of things that have transformed throughout the years from when, you know, how is it back then and now we have this. So let's take 3 minutes, and you can post on the chat any disruptive innovation. And the disruptive innovation, again, is that floppy disk, how it's, you know, we went from one product to another product that is innovative. Dial-up internet, very good, awesome, awesome. Yes, that's true, dial-up internet. Hopefully it's gonna even be better. Like, you know, we're even having broadcasting occurring at our schools by the city, hopefully next year. You're gonna have a drive-up Wi-Fi. The mobile phones having movies, absolutely. Movies no longer on CDs. Well, some still are on CDs, but now they're on demand, Netflix. Records, 8-track records, yes, very true, to CDs. And now digital files, VHS, right. If you were to show your little one a VHS tape, they'd be like, what is that? Calculators. Well, there's still some around, but they are going to be obsolete one day. Yes, a lot of these things being obsolete is what the key here, you know. Touch screens versus keyboards. Awesome. Headphones, Bluetooth, right? Amazon, thank you, Michelle. Yep, Amazon purchasing items on demand, also even food purchasing. What is it going to even continue to change like? So when we are looking at this disruptive innovation, another thing you have to consider is that we need to make sure that we're preparing our students for that world, that we are going to teach at one point jobs that may not even exist. So this learner that's behind the scenes, you know, we need to teach him to think innovatively, just like this era that has occurred. I remember having a big, bulky overhead projector in the middle of the classroom. Yep. And, you know, our classroom environment has changed so much. Absolutely. Printers, true. Very true. And so what is it going to look like even further down the line? We have to keep up with the times. Again, we have to well equip our students for that possibility that it's going to continue to change. I mean, change is, you know, something that's not going to stop. So we have to be reflective of that as we teach. And again, I think a big key in here is teaching them to be innovators. And so you have STEAM and STEM that teaches them that. So go back to your STEAM, you know, lab or your, you know, trainings that we've given, and think of those, using those things or those models that will help them be innovative. And again, the STEAM it teaches them to build products out of scratch, like trying to reinvent something that is used currently, like, for example, a irrigation system. So I'm gonna start right there. Thank you all for your awesome answers. Yes, mail team. Hey, Lily, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us. And Lily, I'm sorry about my speaker. I forgot to turn it off. Lily and Michelle, they're awesome DLSs who we've all this school year been trying to train on blended learning again. And we're doing this because it's part of HB3, which is a Senate bill or a bill that's passed in learning. If you all will look up TAHB3, there's many financial aspects of it. There's about 30 chapters Blended learning was a chapter, and the districts did apply for blended learning with the Imagine Math. And so we got some funding through it, and actually it was the dean, the math dean, who got it. Not necessarily us IT, but you know, we were doing it before then. But know that the state, you know, TA is supporting it and putting these things out because they want to see this in the classrooms. Again, the bill talks about so many things, not just blended learning. It's a financial bill that even talks about giving teachers a big stipend as they become like not only their star teachers in their evaluations or how they are, their records of how their star comes along, but there's a whole, the district will start pushing that one out because the district makes a model for it, but the state has said, okay, in HB3, there is a place where teachers can, and there are 3 levels. I can't remember what they're called. And chime in, girls, if DLSs, if you remember what they are called. There's going to be 3 levels of that type of teacher, and you have to earn it, of course, and the state will give you the money for it. They're going to be providing big stipends where teachers can really earn some good money. So I like that. And of course, blended learning is going to be one of those things that they're going to want to see too. There's a reading portion of it and how the literacy is changing, and models in it are also going to be looking a little different. And early childhood was also inside the TA HB3 chapter that was established this school year, September, I can't remember the date, but it was in September 19th. And actually it was like finalized then, but it came into effect even prior to that. So I put a video here. It's a TED talk from one of the persons that began the theory of blended learning, and he was also learning under his professor Clayton, but I put him, and actually the video is kind of older, but he was even talking about this way back. So if you want to take a look at it, because it is what just all in all is adopted as blended learning, the disruptive innovation. So please take a look at that. And again, I was saying that standardized testing digitally for everybody will be in 2023. Next school year, that's another reason why we were trying to get Chromebooks, because each one will test on their own device. You have, again, where Region 1 was already starting to teach all across LISD, 5th grade teachers and all resource teachers, because their test would be the first one to test this way on STAR. And special ed was already testing on this format, some schools. But now we're not going to be exempt from it. So we do need to get those students to be familiar with the extensions that we've taught you all, the ones, the read and write. And if you all don't have a list of that extension, Arabella, if you don't mind putting up our list that we compiled for you all, we did them in the Tech Talks. Those extensions that would help you with the reading strategies and things like that will be, they'll use the STAR, or the state will use their own type of, just like the TELPAS has, but you using them in the classroom right now, they'll kind of, oh, okay, this is how, it's the same thing as me using the highlighter. It's the same thing as me using, but they're done through the extensions that we did on our tech tips. Will they be the same one the state uses? No. Will Cami be the one? No. They'll have their own, but it's the action behind it, or it's the, you know, the ability for the computer to do that makes them, oh, okay, it's an easier, you know, they'll pick it up right away. So she'll paste it somewhere around there. Also, you can watch that video right here that shows, again, a blended learning classroom for more information on that. And one of the things I did mention were the millions of jobs that we'll see our students won't be qualified for if we do not act on this type of digital environment and innovative teaching, as well as STEAM, innovative thinking. So blended learning is going to be a big aspect in our 21st century classroom. So when you see this next graphic organizer, you see that there's the face-to-face learning. The blended learning is right in the middle. It has to have the face-to-face teacher teaching, and then it has to have the online learning as well. And it merges right in the middle where there's the home instruction and the classroom instruction. There's that reversed flipped classroom or that remote learning that's occurring. It cannot be where, okay, the student's just learning the material online and it's, for say, I'm just gonna say it's iStation, and I as a teacher will never look at the data analysis. I'll just let them go on and go on. No, it has to have that blended aspect where the teacher is interacting with the data that she's receiving to produce the instruction in order to differentiate it. So when you see blended learning, does it sound familiar? COVID has redefined it, but it actually was already a style. It was actually called the remote learning style. Here's the flipped classroom. So we're gonna see this video of this girl. This would have been the typical way to do it. This is actually, to me, this is not the best way, but this is the one that you would see out there mostly occurring, because this is just one of the things how you want to implement it. Okay, so I'm just going to play her.
I've been teaching math for the last 5 years, and this is why I flipped my classroom. This is what my classroom used to look like. I was teaching to the middle group of the class, the students that could follow along with what we were doing, and we were going through the content, while I had a group of higher level students not challenged, bored with the information, ready to move forward. And I had a struggling group of students that were not receiving enough effective remediation. They didn't have the basic content they needed to be working on the content we were currently covering, or they needed more help in order to be successful. This led to a 90% use of class time being spent on delivery and review of content. 90% of the time I was at the front of the classroom lecturing to a group of students, and I wasn't meeting all of their needs. 10% of class time was actually spent on application, which led to, depending on students, to do the application needed to be successful. They had to go home or outside of class and work on applying the concepts that I was giving out in class. This constant battle of not reaching the needs of all students and feeling the need to differentiate for all of my learners allows teachers to feel overwhelmed and ineffective, because we see the need for differentiation, but there's just not enough time for effective differentiation. This called for a drastic change in how we teach. This is where flipping the classroom comes in. Now the students outside of class preload the content. They get the information they're going to need for class. They can pause, rewind, and rewatch the videos as many times as they need to. They can post questions online to their classmates or to the teacher. And it's a self-paced program where they can be remediated by going back and reviewing former topics, or they can work ahead when they've already mastered a concept and are ready to look forward. They get the content here before class, so that when they come into class, my whole classroom has now shifted, where I'm at the center of the class, working between these differentiated groups, focused on different pieces of application. I can now work between each of these groups that are moving at their own pace. This has created a 90% use of class time spent on application of the content, and 10% of class time is spent on delivery of content, when I can answer questions that have been posted or take any other questions that have come up from applying the content. Now in my classroom, all students are engaged and challenged. I have time to work with each group, give them individualized time and instruction as they need, and I can actually work between each of the groups to provide effective differentiation for all my varied groups of learners, my struggling students, my middle group of learners, and I can now extend and expand on my higher level students' prior knowledge and challenge them in the classroom.
So we saw the reasoning behind that flipped classroom. We saw why she had to do it. She wanted to meet the needs of all her students. And I think most of us have found ourselves in that frustrated place where the 90% of the time you're just teaching just to catch up with, you know, because you feel the curriculum might be going too fast, or, you know, different reasons why we have to do it that way sometimes. But, you know, we're just going to see and show you guys some of the strategies you can use to make it work for y'all. And with this blended learning, the station rotation, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. But remember, the most important thing is not the technology. It's really the teaching that's the most important. A teacher must inspire, give hope, ignite imagination, and instill a love for learning. I'm going to play a little video of you where a teacher simulates the flipped classroom. What she did in her Google Classroom, she put a Screencastify, and she's recording herself, and this was during the school year. This video was actually taken in October. And I'll show you her classroom environment too, but she's giving concepts at home, and you'll see, oops, let me see if I can get to it. Ooh, I might not have had it linked. Oh, I don't have it linked. If I can, I'll show it to you all in a bit. Anyways, what she did was use Screencastify to record herself at home, talking and showing her computer, talking about a website that they were going to engage in. And she was talking about the expectations, and she's actually teaching, and it was only a 7-minute to 10-minute video. It doesn't have to be long, but you're already talking about what they're going to interact with at home. And you're describing the instruction with your anchor charts, with your vocabulary that's going to be taught, and so forth. And then they go and they engage with those websites. Then when they come back to school, they are ready for the assignment, or they are ready for the collaboration that they're going to do, or their project-based material. And again, I'll try to put up the video in a little bit. I don't know why I don't have it hyperlinked. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk to you all about is the SAMR model. The SAMR model is the technology framework and how you use technology to teach. So when you're using the technology, you're either going to be in the enhancement stage, where the students are here and you're teaching with like a substitution of material and you're first starting out. We're not saying that these things are wrong, but the deeper you go, the more things you can do with the students, okay? So when you have a substitution, you have, let's say, the technology acts as a direct tool for the substitute. Let's say a video versus a book. So there's a little change, but it doesn't have a lot of functionality unless the video calls an action afterwards. Then you have augmentation, or like an ebook, right? I mean, it's just an ebook versus a book. Then you have augmentation. The technology acts as a direct tool, substitute with functional improvement. So now it has a little bit of improvement. Modification. The technology that you're using allows for students for a significant task redefined. For example, the VR goggles, or a website that has simulations, or something that it just redesigns the whole. It no longer looks like a textbook. It looks like you're submerged in it, right? So you're seeing that you're going deeper and deeper. The students are going deeper and deeper into the learning because the technology has now redesigned and transformed the material. So the last step in the SAMR model is the technology allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable, a virtual field trip. Something that's very like, you know, that's what the technology does. Maybe you can never take your students there, or your students will never be able to go there without the technology. So you've got these different things, and you may be, one day you may be on the augmentation, maybe the next day you'll be on modification. At some point, maybe you'll just hit the redefinition for a while. It just, you know, it's up to you. You go back and forth within these models, but you don't want to stay, you know, just looking at the ocean. You want to go ahead and start submerging yourself in this technology framework just to better the teaching. Again, the teaching, the instruction, the content material has to be actually top-notch. It has to be at its best in order for the technology to assist it. It's not the technology that makes the teaching better. It redefines it, but it's really the teacher. So if you wanted more information, there's a little video I have posted. And again, it's just this model of the Starbucks, how you prep up your coffee. Again, they really redefined coffee, Starbucks themselves, when they made the pumpkin spice latte. It just redefined what coffee would taste like. So it's just a little thought behind it. Then we also have something called the TPACK model, and you'll get some training on this even by your curriculum people, because this is the model that you want to see when you're teaching content. You want to see that technological, pedagogical content called the TPACK, and it's where it's all in the middle. You have your knowledge and technology, your content, but then your pedagogy, which has to be your best practices, all submerging into one area. And sometimes we'll have best practices and technology, and maybe the content gets lost. So careful with that. You want to merge the three. Again, I placed this little video so that you can see how merging the three makes the best model of it. You don't want to just have the content and pedagogy. You see how it's just right here, this little gray out, and you leave out the technology. You really want to hit yourself right in the middle. So take a look at this video when you have a chance, but just the model itself explains it. So I'm going to bypass that, and I'm going to move on to the blended learning model. When the girl was talking about the flipped classroom and the model that it should look like, it's called the station rotation. Okay, you have a set of computers in your class, whether it be 8 to 12 of them, and then you have the teacher in a small group instruction, and then at the bottom you'll have maybe 2 collaborative stations. There is the component of all things occurring: online learning, some offline learning with the teacher, or offline learning with the collaboration aspect of it, whether they're making a project or doing a science experiment. There's that offline learning through interacting with the manipulative. And then you have the teacher and the paraprofessional are kind of rotating around the room sometimes to check for their understanding. But there is a teacher-led instruction area with a small group. And then as she gets the analysis from the station rotation from the online instruction, she modifies her teacher-led group, and she changes up her groups so that she can start her reteaching. And she also differentiates the assignments inside of her Google Classroom or Seesaw. Well, it's assuming that you have a paraprofessional in the classroom, but that young lady didn't. And a lot of the times you really don't need one. You have your stronger kids that can also be, helping to monitor. And our kids are always learning off of each other. And so really that's what sparks the ideas and a lot of the learning too. And teacher just clarifies things. She clears out those misunderstandings. But thank you for pointing that out. But still, it's not impossible to do it without a pair. Okay, I know that little model, maybe should have gotten a white ink and taken it out, but or put a little X on one and not the other, because sometimes you'll have them, sometimes you won't. That's okay. Okay, classroom management. I'm going to talk about just different things that you can use while you're in that model. Just different, like you can set up these little apps maybe on an iPad. Maybe as when you're with the teacher one. So I'm going to show you these. Maybe some of you have seen them, maybe you all haven't. I'm going to show you all these. These are just classroom management apps. Those equity sticks that you would have in the classroom when you're pulling out for questions. We don't have access to those, but you can type up names on this online equity wheel of names. You can type up the names of the students. You just play or copy paste them from a Word document. And then you call on Fatima or whoever it stops on, Eric, whoever it stops on, and you call them out that way, and it removes the student, and it gives a chance for everybody to answer at one point. So you can type up, again, copy paste names of your kiddos and just wait for the wheel to, so that way you have your equity stats. Awesome, I'm glad you love our little wheel, and it's called wheelofnames.com, and all of these are listed within the presentation if you just click on the icon. The next one I'm going to talk about is Classroom Screen. This is a great management one. I've seen it where it's on an iPad by itself. Ooh, let me see if it, oh, I guess it got changed up a bit. It says launch the new classroom screen. Okay, so I'm sure it's going to do the same things. It just probably, it's more efficient maybe, but just that's the way technology is. One day it looks one way, the next day it looks another way, and that's okay. So this one, the classroom screen, another great management app. I can click the background and change up depending what I'm teaching. Maybe I'm going to be teaching about animals, and so there's going to be lots of pictures on there, and you kind of go with the theme that you're teaching that week. It's taking a while to load, but maybe I was teaching on different landmarks or something, and that's why you see this one in the background. You could also make it plain, or you can upload a picture. There we go, there we go. Here come in the pictures. So maybe I was going to talk about animals or something, and so I'm going to pick, I don't know which one I picked. I think I picked the bird. I'm not sure. The icon was a little small. So here comes the background, and you kind of could do your theme, whatever it is that you're teaching. This one also has that equity stick type of thing where you have a random, it's a second icon, it's a randomizer. You can copy paste names of students in here, and when you choose it, it will choose by itself. So this is another good way to kind of integrate that one. Then the next one is the dice roller. If you number your students, if you say, okay, you're number 7, you're number 8, whatever, you can use that one for that. The sound level recorder, pretty awesome too. It's the next one. Just make sure you allow it to come into your mic, and it kind of picks up the level where when it's red, it's too high. Their volume level has to be lower. And you can adjust the sensitivity to, see here, there. So I'm too close to it, but okay, hello. Okay, there. So as I'm too close to it, so it's picking it up, but you can adjust again the sensitivity, and it will kind of keep the kids in control. Hopefully that sound level will help out. And sometimes I've ran it on an iPad on the center, and I've also ran it in the classroom. I've seen teachers put up their presentation on the projector, and then I've seen the iPad be on the TV. So,
Terry,
yes.
excuse me for interrupting. This one is called the classroom screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Classroomscreen.com. Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, of course. The next one, and again, she could put it up on the TV, and the kids come in with their iPads. They could scan it, or she could already have these things going on, and she can have several things up, okay, and moved around if you want to move it around and resize it. And so the QR code, the kids come up, maybe it's the book that you want to go to, and I'm just going to go to Starfall just to make it easier on me, starfall.com, but it's really like your ebook or some other kind of book. When I press enter, the QR code is going to change. If any of you want to use your phones to scan this QR code right now, it should pick it up. So you see the students coming in, no loss of time, no typing this humongous URL. You just copy paste it beforehand, and it has it there. If you don't want to see one of these icons available, all you have to do is click on it. Oops, that made 2 of them. Click on the X. Don't click on it twice. Click on the X to close out. So I see the update. That's where the update's at. You also have the draw tool if you want the student to come up here and interact with it as if it were a chalkboard. And you can use, if to do a math problem. And you can also use this on your virtual learning as well. And have the kids kind of turn it around and showcase the screen to you guys. Then there's the text where you can type up the objective. And this is called classroomscreen.com. And it's a website, not necessarily an app, but it does work on your iPad perfectly. So if you want to just type up your objective for the day or for that class teaching that you're doing, it'd be great. And you can have 2 windows open, okay? One window for math, one window, and you can just bring up your tab that you need to. Those are just ideas on it. Okay, so you've got your text. I closed it out because I don't want to have everything there. I'll probably close this one because it's telling me I talk too loud. Okay, I think it's better there. See, if I lowered the sensitivity, it's a little better. So you adjust it as you want, and my pitch changes it a bit. I think when I talk with a pitch, it's evident. So anyways, that's what is there for. And I'm going to just close it just so it won't be too distracting. You've got your work symbols, like what you expect. This is voice level 0. If you click on it, let me just move this up a bit. If you click on it, okay, guys, it's whisper for this station. It's discussion time, talk to your neighbor. It's work together. So you put out the icon that you want to see. And again, you can have several up. I'm just closing them so we can see it a little better. You're going to give them work time and tell them, okay, you're ready to go. Let's start your assignment. I gave you your instruction. You have, you have 5 minutes or so many minutes to complete your assignment. And again, this update, oh, I can't figure out where. Okay, I think it's the plus. Let's see here. There it is. I can add the time or take away time. That's too much on that digit. Maybe I want to add 3 minutes to this assignment or 5 minutes to this assignment, and the timer goes. I'm going to lessen the time so that we can get through it quickly. And you can hear it will. As soon as, you gave them 5 minutes or so many, and then as you see it get closer, somebody, the leader's in charge of putting it at yellow when it's 2 minutes till the time is up. And that kid that's ready and always has his eyes on everything, he'll be ready for you to do it. And time is up, and then you have to manually come over here and set it up with. So good visuals for your kiddos, great way to manage your class. You've got a stopwatch, you've got the clock if you need to have the clock set up, because you know that subjects change from, you're not going to be departmentalized as far as I know the school year, but if you have to change from classes, or you have to change subjects, then you would do that. You would use that one. Okay, so I'm going to close out that. The calendar would be just a typical calendar. And again, you can have several open at one time. I hope you all liked it and find it useful. And there's the other one, Class Dojo, where, you're giving behavior points and you're rewarding your kiddos. And I'm not going to go into it. Some of you see it. Some of you have used it. Even works great for older kids in middle school. It actually works super good. Take a look at it. There's a tutorial on it. If you click on it, there's a little video tutorial on it. I do like using Class Dojo because it gives the students some kind of sense of rewarding them. And you're doing it digitally, right? So great. The next thing we're going to be talking about is that a blended learning must have a learning management system. You all have been working with a learning management system, and there's where you have your classwork or your Seesaw. The learning management system is just, it's where the learning is occurring. It's a place where it's housing all your work. Some school districts use Schoology. In college, they use Blackboard. Some of you are using Seesaw, some of you are using Classroom. So just know I wrote there Skyward steps to put your grades from Google Classroom into your grades of Skyward. That is just temporarily. We're really working hard on automating it for you guys. But if you all want to use it, and the school year doesn't start where it's automating yet, but we're trying our best to configure it. It is coming. where anything that you do, if you do it correctly in classwork and you put your assignments under classwork and not announcements, and they synchronize with your grades tab, they will too synchronize with your Skyward. But those are the steps on how you can do it. If you want to preview that, you can. This is that young lady that was teaching from home, and she used different products, a Nearpod, a Flipgrid. You want to use different things to get that student engagement. So you could see her agenda for the day there. She said, good morning, good afternoon, because she has afternoon classes. Obviously, you'll be working on your Google Classroom. You will have a Nearpod today. You'll have a Google Form and a Flipgrid you have to do to summarize your learning experience. And she also had a website where the students interacted with the content. So take a look at it. They were exploring it. I was trying to get that other video for you, and I promise to link it up to the one that says Teaching is a Work of Art, just so you could see that screen. She uses Screencastify so you could see it where she's teaching the content through there. And they can revisit that Screencastify. Right now, your kids are maybe revisiting your Google Meets to learn some of the material. Same thing. But the Screencastify just allows you to go back and forth into the tabs that are on your computer. That way you can showcase a website or whatever it is. And just when the kids are on the page, she used the solar system. She was teaching the solar system. And so they had like a 3D model augmented website that they could explore the planet a little deeper. And so it made their minds, you know, it inspired the learning. And so they were able to kind of write more critically because of it. So let's take a look at it. So there, I mean, it's but the students are interacting and answering. There's discussion feed. They're answering to her. I love Neptune. Pluto is not a planet anymore. There she is with her Screencastify. She's showcasing. She's at home and she's showcasing what they're gonna learn through. And you see the description, and it's like you see the students, you know, discussing. And she had said a joke, and the kids put that was a funny joke. And, you know, she made it very real for them. And then one said, I appreciate what you're doing. And so she included her Nearpod. Her learning objectives. And again, keep in mind, Nearpod does pick up grades. You just go to the reports. There's the website that they kind of manipulated with their hands, and they saw the rotation of the earth with the sun and how it all works. And I'm sorry that it has a delay, but this actually animates for them too, and it's really neat. And again, she quizzed them, so she got the data from the Google Forms, immediate data. So this is what it does. And then she had them do a Flipgrid too. So I'm gonna just move on from there. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about the products. And I mean, we don't have time to teach them, but do go in there and install. There's the extension if y'all just wanna go in there, and it's gonna take you to Google, to Screencastify, go ahead and install it. It's a great extension, again, like I said, to use to do that flipped classroom where you give them the instruction from home. And it shows you how to do it, and it's free right now, which is awesome. You can play the video and it shows you how to do it. It's not hard. You can also go in and see a YouTube video on how to use Screencastify. And then, like I said, it stores them and it's easy to share into your Google Classroom. We've covered this on our tech app. There's little time to cover all the apps, just FYI, but know that these are very good teacher instruction-based material that you can use. On the Edpuzzle, although you can use it for formative assessment also, Edpuzzle is a great way to let the student interact with the content or learn from the content. And it's a video lesson that you're making. You're getting a YouTube video, and then you're breaking it up inside to put in questions on it. And all you have to do is sign in and then import your Google Classroom. And there are no passwords your kids need to use. They typically do, but because you're bringing it in from your Google Classroom, and I'm sorry, there's not a lot of time to actually go through it, but you would say, I'm a teacher, and then you would sign up and so forth. I'm already signed up. There's not a lot of time to go through it, like I said. But if you haven't used it, it lets you go through the Khan Academy, National Geographic, and these do not have ads. And if you notice, they have little, like this one that has 3 questions. It has little points where it breaks, and you actually input the question on there where you're checking for their understanding. And then your report, your grade book, will give you how they answered. And here's my classes, and I added my class from Google Classroom. And I brought it in, and so all the students already have an account because I synchronized them in there. And so you'll see that here are my students. They're actually teachers because I did this training with the summer school teachers. We also did it for one of our Tech Talk tips, like I said. But take a look at it. It's amazing. I love it. It's a great way to get some check for understanding. Peer Deck makes your slides interactive. Again, I don't have time to look at it, but even if you open the word that says Peer Deck, it's an add-on. This will kind of let you know how it works, and it will explain to you step by step how to install it, if you just kind of read on it. And there's templates that are in there that allow you to make your slides interactive. And when you choose the slide, you can say how you want it to answer it. Much like Edpuzzle 2, you can post in the questions yourself and make that slide an interactive slide. So Peer Deck is amazing as well. We've got formative assessment apps we could use. Plicklers, if you haven't seen it, if you did not have iPads, you can use it just to quickly scan the room and see how the students are answering with a assessment you may have put up. And here you see the teacher scanning with her iPad. The kids, you print a list of, like the kids are rostered in there. You actually have to type them up. But they'll all get like a little, it's hard to see it, but these are people posting on Twitter how they found Plickers very useful, especially because they didn't have access to an iPad. And so it works like a QR code. On one side, it's letter A. They move the QR code or they move the paper around. It's letter B. Letter C is another side. And so the students change it, and the teacher scans with her iPad, and she's running the presentation with her laptop, and she's getting immediate feedback as well. Then you have quizzes. If you haven't used quizzes, pretty good. It integrates with Google Classroom as well. Just know that. And I put a tutorial there on quizzes. I really like using Ruby Star. It lets you build a rubric if you're doing projects, and they're already pre-made for you, and you can modify them. There's a writing if you want to do a writing rubric. And then once you log in, you can pick your subject, and it's a class debate, whatever it is, you can pick whichever one you want. And I'm going to put oral presentation just for now. And I put my name on it as a teacher, and I, again, continue to see how I can build it. So I want to know the comprehension of the material is there and so forth, and it builds the rubric for me. I don't have to come up with the words. I'm going to choose vocabulary to be one, and it builds the rubric again for me. So it's called Ruby Star. Awesome way to assess your students, and just easy because, again, it's already building it for you with what you want to assess. And when you're done, it downloads a PDF, and you can upload that inside your Google Classroom so they're familiar with how that project or that assignment is going to be graded. Let's take a look at this again. I chose this one only because, again, it's funny. I actually showed it to my son too, and he's a lot like that girl.
You're
no
looking
idea
under
how to interact
I know,
with our things
okay.
that we live with. So she's looking at her
Carpool,
phone
okay.
as if it was a dictionary instead of an actual phone.
What are you trying to do under car what? Golden muffler, is that a car part? I don't think so. Oh my god. Look under muffler. Okay.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay on there, but you still get the gist with what she's saying. With the little
okay.
girl. But she's not even little. She's like probably about 18, a high schooler.
Okay. Okay, so I need to spin. Okay.
She's looking at a rotary phone.
No! Oh my god! Okay. I just spin it to the 8. And then to the 1. Eight, 1, 8. There's a lot of 8s. 8, 4, 5, 0. Hello.
So that is it. And again, I used my slides to stop and start where I wanted to. It's a pretty long video. If you want to open it up, you can see more. And it's very hilarious because they're asking her to look at a map and she can't. She doesn't have map skills. But it's an old map. It's the kind of map we used to use. And now it's GPS. So she had a 9009 in her phone number. Yeah, so kind of hard, like, wow, different. Again, don't expect your students to be living in the world we did. It's just a reflection of that. Always keeping in mind that we want them to be innovative thinkers and know that there is this disruption of innovation that is occurring that makes our classrooms, you know, where we have to redefine it. So student activities, your CARES should have technology integration. It should have your Nearpods next school year for every week. So be closely looking at the tab that says technology integration for more ideas. Maybe we put out a quizzes or formative assessment that's linked up to one of the applications we just showcased. I did show the Dean's Edpuzzle. I'm hoping that they'll start using it. It's free right now, but it's not a free product in the school year, so the teacher may need to buy it, but it's worth it. I believe it's only $5 a month, less than the cost of a meal in a month, and yet you can get immediate feedback again and check for the understanding and again give the kids that visual because you're not there constantly able to teach them, but the video itself can do that, and you're just checking for their understanding as they go. Station activities. Wonderful, wonderful thing about this is that you are giving them so much practice as they go through this. You know, of course, you're limiting the time that they're on there, but they're seeing it again and again, the material because of this. Your best teaching practices always have to be in hand. The integration of technology is there to maximize the learning. That is what technology is for, to maximize the learning. Always have your 4 C's involved: collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, communication. Always have those involved. The other thing that is inside of Google exam level 1, of course, it's got all of this, but it's got the digital citizen student. So it's going to talk about the 4 C's. It's going to talk about blended learning. It's going to talk about the best teaching practices, things you already know, but incorporating it into a digital world. And then it's going to talk about that digital student. What does he look like? He's a digital citizen. He's safe in the internet. He's literate in the software. So you'll get to experience that with those of you that are going to join us next year. It's a lot of what we do with the AUP every year in the beginning of the year, giving them the guidelines of how to be a safe student. But just keep that in mind as well as you are in any time, whether you're taking Google Level 1 or not, keep that in mind. So this is a collaboration slide. Now we're going to ask you to take a moment, click here where it says click here, and let's collaborate together. This is what we would expect our students to do. So I'm modeling for you guys. I want you to put your name. I want you to type up your name. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I want to click here. Oh my goodness, is it not linked? Bella, can you check if it's linked? Thought I had, oh, because my picture's in the way. That's why, I'm sorry. Refresh on your screen, guys. That's why I was doing that. My picture is in the way. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try it again and press the click here, guys. And those little things can happen to you in the classroom, so I'm glad that happened. My Bitmoji picture had too much white space. And so please type your name. I want to see a lot of people in here, and type your name in here. Start giving me some strategies you would like to use from the station rotation, some ideas you found useful, some things that you already have done. Let me keep inserting some rows in here.
So if they click on where the word here is, they'll be able to get to it.
Okay, awesome.
And I just
Thank
pasted
you.
the presentation link just in case you joined a little later, so you can go into the presentation itself and then go to the slide. This is going to be found on slide 24.
There are no wrong answers. Please don't be shy. Please go in there. If you haven't used something but you want to start using something, a strategy that's in here, an idea like an app or something you found or something that you're using. And then just tell me about differentiation. Tell me how, you know, this was good or not so good in using differentiation for your students. Nearpod, yes, that's a really good app to use because you can integrate your PDFs, you can integrate collaboration in there, you can integrate assessment in there, a quiz. You can integrate several things because it has different things it could do all in one spot. So Nearpod, if you haven't felt comfortable with it, and go to one of the trainings on that. I think next year we're still going to have trainings on Nearpod. Start exploring it, use it. It is a $120 a person membership, but you're getting it for free because our district has bought it. Please make good use of it. A lot of things are already pre-made for you, and again, I'm saying that we're trying our best to put it into your cares so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're here to help you guys. So hopefully you all can start integrating it. Can Nearpod assignments be whole class or select students remediation to expand their learning? You can assign the Nearpod assignment just to one student, that's true, and it could be used as a whole class or individual. Very good, Ms. Harvey, that is very true. You can differentiate in there, absolutely. Yes, we're seeing with blended learning, we can differentiate the assignments in your Google Classroom. In your forms, you can change up the different assessments. Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. That's a very good idea. Make different Google Forms, and inside Google Classroom, only they see it. Only they see what is differentiated for them. So you pick what assignment is going to go to which student.
So Terry, on one of the samples there is Nearpod. So someone is asking, are there pre-recorded trainings on Nearpod that we can view? Yes, there are, right?
There are. We actually had a consultant come in. So, and go to their website. They are pretty amazing on their webinars. Go into their website and go ahead and do some. I really highly recommend you go to their website and do the trainings from there. at this point, because you're going to see a lot. And there's all kinds. There's intro, there is, you know, more advanced if you want to start using Google products with Nearpod, because now you can merge the two. There's a lot you can do with it.
And the link is there to go directly to the Google Doc. I know we are experiencing internet connectivity issues. So see if you can go directly to the link. If you look here in the chat box, maybe you can get to the document this way. Thank you, Lily, for your information. Very helpful.
Tutorials. Yes, guys, you want to get that, because again, when you do a Nearpod, you've got a variety of things that you're doing. You're doing the 4 C's in there. You're doing collaborations. You're doing communications, because there's a class discussion occurring as well. And then you go to the reporting system, and you can pick up 2 to 3 grades just from a Nearpod. One to measure where they're at, and one to really record on your gradebook, depending how you're teaching, right, at that time. But the reports section gives you great data that's integrated. Will this document, with this document ideas be included in the training? You can actually go to File and make a copy of this one if you want to, please, because I am going to erase people's, I wouldn't want to, but I'm going to make a copy of them. But for the next training, I'm going to kind of start with a clean slate. We will send you the recording. We will send you the presentation. The idea is go ahead and right now go to File, make a copy.
And even for the presentation itself, if you want to go ahead and make your own copy, and that way if you make any changes to it, it won't affect our file.
Yes, it's a good practice to always, escape and go File, make a copy, and that makes your own copy, and then you can modify or add your own speaker notes. I do have some speaker notes on some of them, but whatever you picked, okay, I remembered that she said this, you can put your own speaker notes to it. And again, File, entire presentation. I won't play this video that's next, but it's good to reflect on blended learning and how it's so useful. And then you've got other resources that you can take a look at. You've got Ditch That textbook that has some tech tools that you can already start downloading, and we've shared a lot of those. They're Google products that can be integrated into your Google Classroom as well as Seesaw. And so they're just basically templates and interactive student activities that you can integrate. Then you've got this amazing lady, Catlin Tucker. She talks about the station rotation. She talks about blended learning more. She's got books on it, so I put her up as well, only because there's a big understanding of how it is with her. And then you have the books from the guy who began to theorize on blended learning a long time ago, and he's got the Disruptive Innovation and the Disruptive book. So you can go ahead and see that. And the article, I repasted the article that I had earlier. So I put up those links as resources. We always try to provide additional resources that give you the same information on the content that we are talking about. Arabella, would you place the check-in code, please?
Yes, let me go ahead and do that.
And lastly, on the last slide, please take a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes, to complete the training feedback. It's in the middle of the last slide. I'll also copy it right now really quick to paste it in the chat. Please click on training feedback. You'll get a survey, and you'll be able to give us that virtual feedback that we need to better our trainings. We hope you have enjoyed this training as we have enjoyed having you guys.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you, Ms. Lily and Ms. Michelle, for your feedback.
Thank you all. Have an amazing day. Just keep striving. Y'all are doing an awesome job coming out to our trainings, and we're seeing a lot of what you do on Facebook. I mean, it's inspiring to us too. We want to better our trainings because of you and how you took on everything that COVID brought along and just did your best because your heart was in it. So thank you all so much. Keep striving, keep punching. We're here to help you guys. We're in this together, and keep the learning going. It's day by day. You're not going to build a house in a day, but every day you do something. I promise we're all just growing and growing in this. So thank you all very much. You all have a great, wonderful, wonderful day.